Did you see me dancing?
Yeah. I saw you dancing because I don't know. You can't. I don't think you see it on your view, but in the admin view, I could see you. And I was dancing along, and then we both did a record scritchy scratch. At the end, we both held our ear like we were a DJ, and then
Yeah, for those of you who are
it was awesome.
just listening to this, we do have you can go over on YouTube watch these videos, but that will not be in the video. But you can watch our.
That's for me
podcast on
only.
YouTube.
That was my sound experience only.
Ever since you told me that you can actually see that, I think I should just start doing something different every time.
Yeah,
and just catch you off
Well,
guard.
what was so funny is like we were both just like flying around doing stupid like dance stuff, and then we did the record scratchy scratch at the end, and then you immediately went shoom into like straight face, like slight smile, sitting still. I was like, oh, he's good. He's good. He's ready.
Yeah, it was kind of like that mojo I needed to get like in the zone, and then like, all right, I'm in the zone.
Yeah, that was your baseball walk-up music, right?
What was my walkout music? Because when I played in high school, that was the thing that we did, was we got to pick our walkout songs.
Has it been a thing since that long? How long? I thought that was like, that's a newer thing because you're quite old.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing back then. I'm not that old. Walkout music. They had speakers in stadiums when I was playing baseball.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They had like an old crank gramophone.
Yeah, this is when Babe Ruth was playing, and anyways. So today we're going to talk about something that I got a text message actually from a friend of mine, and I was starting to tell Jason, and we were like, no, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, don't tell me. Earmuffs.
Yeah. So here's what happened. So a friend of mine texted me, and he asked me a very good question, and something that I have dealt with for in my regular 9-to-5 is something that, I've had to think through when we started Market House and moving into our business full time. Well, I guess even before then, it was something that I had to process through. But he texted me, said, what do you do when you're completely overwhelmed by your to-do list? Mm-hmm. And what do you do when there's so many people that just want your attention? Mm-hmm. And they, excuse me, and they want you to talk to them like right away or respond to them right away. I said, well, first off, I need to know, are we talking professionally? Are we talking personally? Because my response would be two different things. Yeah. If it's personally, it's like, okay, you have a little bit more control. Excuse me. But if you're talking about professionally, there's some things you can do.
Yeah.
And when he told me, he says, no, it's professionally, I'm just completely overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I remember one particular job that I had, and Jason knows because I used to vent to him all the time how stressed I was at this job. And my to-do list would just be added to constantly. And it was like everything was treated as if it was top priority. It was the first thing like that everybody needed. Like, and then somebody else would come by my office and they would say, oh, I need blah, 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 blah. Okay. And I would put it on my to-do list. And then it was like, it was a notebook that sat next to, or a notepad that sat next to my desk. And when somebody would come through and say that, I would just write it down. And then when I'd meet with my boss, we would have pretty reoccurring meetings, pretty much every day, just kind of check in, I should say, not catch in. And we would sit down and just kind of talk through the to-do list, what I was planning on working on that day, but I didn't have a really good system for that. Yeah. It wasn't until I did a couple of things that I felt completely overwhelmed because it was happening all the time. And then I got a whiteboard, and then I moved it off of there and put it on the whiteboard. So that way, when somebody walked in the door, when they're standing there talking to me, the whiteboard's right next to them so they could see everything. And I even had like to do projects or whatever it was. Just there.
Somebody comes in, they ask you to do something. All you have to do is glare at the whiteboard and be like, "You really want to add something else?
Figure out where
You
you can
want
fit it in.
You want to add something else? You go put it. You write it up there, buddy."
And I had like due dates and stuff added
Yeah.
to it and all that. So this is what I did, and this is the advice I gave him. I said the first thing that I would do is I'd write your top 3 things.
Yeah.
I think we'd be able to talk about that on the show once or twice, or maybe we just
I know we've done
once,
it on the
just
lives,
briefly.
and we've
Yeah.
talked about it personally because it's the same as like the rock method. Like what are your biggest rocks on your list? And
Right.
Break those first. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to do the top 3 things, and then I always write an extra list of 5 things. So there's 8 things.
Yeah.
But the top 3 things have to be done. Like if there's anything that I get done today, those 3 things have to be done. If I get to the end of the day and the 5 things are the extra things and the top 3 things didn't get done, but the top 5 did, or the bottom 5 did, I did it wrong. Now sometimes it would happen where the bottom 5 was like a quick thing that I could do as a needing a break. You know what I mean? So I would do the top 3 things, and then I'd have the extras. And so then what I would do was I told him write out the top 3 things and then do the 5 extra. Yeah. And then I asked him, I said, when's your most focused time of the day? And he said, probably the mornings. I said, well, if it's the morning time, what I would do is I would not plan anything during that time. No meetings if you can help it. Tell your boss, hey, listen, this is my focus time for the next 2 hours. If you have an office door, close it. Turn off your email, turn off your phone, put it on do not disturb, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And just hammer through the top 3 things that you can, as far as you can on the top 3 things. I said, if you can't do that, schedule it throughout the day.
Yeah.
On your least focused time of the day, usually for me, 2:30, 3:30, somewhere around in there. Towards the end of the day is when I hit like my brain's starting to be like, okay, you're overloading me at this point.
You're in a downward spiral.
Yeah. Which that's something me and you've talked about, and usually sometimes I'll go and do a workout at that time, or go downstairs. I have a treadmill desk, so I'd go downstairs and work on a treadmill desk. But regardless, I said schedule it throughout the day. Say from 9 to 10, I'm working on top 3, number 1.
Yeah.
When I come back from lunch, I'm usually fresh because I'm coming off of a break. For that next hour and a half, I'm going to work on number 2. And then towards the end of the day, I'll finish on number 3. And sprinkle in between that, do the extras, right? Have those little extra things that are coming through. And I said, that makes a massive difference. There's also a book called Eat That Frog. Have you heard about this?
No. I've had a frog before, though.
I had a frog on my throat just a minute ago. But Eat That Frog is something that I'm going to be reading pretty soon. My wife actually read it, and she was telling me about it. And basically the premise is if you knew the next day you had to eat a frog, if you knew that.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is to eat it first thing in the morning.
Why?
Because if you wait, you're going to press it all day until you get to the end. You're like, I'll just eat it tomorrow. And then it'll never happen. Okay. You'll never eat the frog. So you have to eat the frog. Well, there's I don't know why you would have to eat a frog, but you got to eat it. So you don't procrastinate. Do it right away. Eat the frog.
Just eat the frog.
Right. And now some people we have members on our team that they're not morning people, and you're not a morning person either. However, you have said that you like to have focused time in the morning. Yeah. So I told him to tackle the hardest thing you have right away. The hardest thing you have that day, do it the first thing. Eat the frog.
Eat the frog.
We should do a book review on that, because I think it would be a really good one for us to do, and lots of conversations out of that.
For sure.
So the next thing I said, all right, so that takes care of your overwhelmed feelings. If somebody comes into your office and tells you, oh, I need this, this, and this, or your boss comes in, be polite and just say, okay, let me write that down. When do you need it?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say Tuesday and it's a Monday, say, okay, well, I've got these X amount of things that are due on Tuesday. I don't know if I will be able to get to yours that day. Is there any way that we can move it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need it? Does it have to be by Tuesday? Um, and most of the time they'll say, no. Well, let's say, can you get it to me by Friday?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Most of the time, everybody's going to say they're going to want it right away.
Right.
But when you say, hey, I've got X things, and you just list off a couple things like, I got to get this done and this done and this done. Is there any way we can move it just a little bit? 9 times out of 10, they're going to go, yeah, sure, that'd be fine.
Yeah. My phrase has always been when I ask somebody when they need it, I go, when do you need this? And it can't be yesterday. Because, a lot of people joke like, oh, I need it yesterday because I need it super fast. But like my phrase is, when do you need it? Can't be yesterday. And I think that what you said kind of hits a key point, that just because somebody says they need it right away, I think our timelines tend to default to, oh gosh, okay, I got to put them to the top of my list now, and I think once you actually open that conversation and go, when do you need it? We should discuss, like, let's talk about when you actually need it in hand. Then you get a little bit more leeway, because I think that pressure is what we put on ourselves. Now, granted, if it's like the owner coming to you, or a VP or an executive team member, I might go, when do you need it? And they say immediately. And I'm like, okay, hop to. And then you just like put it to the front of the list no matter what,
Yeah, but
people,
I think
it's like that. But
I think even then, you can still push just a little bit. Don't push as hard as if it's, somebody that's beneath that. Because I used to do that with my boss. He would come up to me and say, and he would add a bunch of other things to my list, and he was acting like it was top priority.
mm-hmm.
And I would say, okay, sounds good. I want to get that done for you. And I think this would be a great project. And I'd just say something positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, okay, right now we have this due and this due and this due on when you say you're needing it.
Yeah.
Does this trump all those? And then I need to put top priority on this thing first and move that there. Are we okay with moving the due dates on a couple of these other things? And then we'd have a conversation. He would be, no, you know what? That can wait till next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have a conversation to move that thing around. The thing, too, is if you don't stand up for yourself, people are just going to run over you.
Yeah.
And they're just going to, and you're going to be so
100%. 100%.
Right. And I also told him, I said, the thing too is if you keep getting a bunch of things added to your list, what a great conversation to say, I would like to hire some help, and I'd like to manage that person.
Exactly.
Now you become right. I did too. So once you add that in there, one, it's a potential pay bump because now you're managing a team. Right. Two, it just gives you more authority. Now, like, you're starting to advance up the ladder. That's how you if there's enough stuff that is happening that you can't get done, okay, well, something's got to give. I only have X amount of time in the day.
Right.
So either we have to cut back on some of those things and the expectation has to be changed, or we need to hire somebody else to come in here and help me out.
I think that happens quite a lot in our world, because we deal a lot with marketing and design and like automation, technical stuff and websites and things like that. And I think that us in particular, and there's a lot of people we know that are this way, that have like this, they're not really generalists. Like it's fine to be a generalist they're a specialist in your career. Like you might do one thing, you might do it incredibly well, and that's perfect for you. But in our world and also in entrepreneurship, it's really important to be a generalist, to be really good at several things. I can't remember the phrase now. I'll look it up in a minute, but the whole master of none, it's like master of none, but it goes on into just to rephrase it. It's like master of none, but you could do a lot of things. I'll pull it up here in a minute when we bounce back to you. But I think it's super important for you to be a journalist and be really good at a lot of different things. And when you are working a career and you're hustling, whether you are your own team of one at a business or it's your own business, and you start to take on a lot of things, it becomes very clear that you can't do it all yourself, even though you could technically do all of the things yourself if you had a million hours in the day. It's important to realize that if you can't, then it's time to get help. And yes, you can leverage that to be like, listen, you got me maxed out. You know me, you know that I can do all this work, but you're putting too much right now. It's just, I can do all of these things, but I don't have enough time to physically do it myself.
And that's a good point. And I think that's kind of when we reached that point pretty early in us being full-time here at Market House when we hired our first employee. Was we physically can't get all this stuff done. There's no way we can focus on getting all of these things done and giving our clients the best that we have to offer, because we're so stressed, and not really stressed, but strapped with time.
Yeah. We were stressed because we were stretched thin, and we were like, we can't do this by ourselves. And we're like, okay, well, we need to add to the team.
So if you're hustling and it's a side project and you're getting to that point where you're like, I can't keep processing this way. Maybe it's time to take that step, hire somebody part-time, just to fill in some of where you can offload some of the stuff that's easy, that it can automatically go to somebody else. For us, it was a project manager. It was the first hire we made. So that was easy because we were like, let's load this off of us and put it on this person and say, we need you to just manage all of these things for us, because we can't get the projects done because we're also having to do all of these other things. And it made a massive difference. So that was helpful, I think, for him. And I also told him to not be reactionary. It's really easy. I know, Jason, you've talked about how you struggle with this. When an email comes in, or a Slack message comes in, or a phone call comes in, or somebody comes by your office, to stop what you're doing and start working on that project. Oftentimes it's easy for us to do that because we may be stuck on another project. We may be just not loving a certain project that we're working on. So like, fresh project, let's go with that. But don't do that, because if you have due dates, if you have things that you have to hit, markers that you need to hit, then don't respond to that email quickly. Oftentimes, I don't do this, and I probably should, but I know a lot of people who check their email once or twice a day. They check in the beginning of the day. They may check it at lunch or right after they get back from lunch, and then may check it before they leave. Just make sure there's no time sensitive stuff that has to get delivered before the end of the day. So I just kind of went through some of those things with him that I knew helped me a lot. Some of those things are probably not groundbreaking or anything like that, but I think it could be a great, and nothing that I said wasn't in any book productivity book that's out there. But
I think a lot of it helps to just have the conversation with somebody, because even though he might have been thinking some of those same things in his head, it's validating to hear it from somebody else, to be like, yeah, this is what I do and it worked. So for me, what I did in my team at my last career, we were a small team. There were four of us in marketing, and I also managed a small offshoot of the sales team. And my marketing team we were doing a lot. We managed several different websites for this company, and we were just hustling day in, day out. And there was something that I saw some of the account managers for the company doing that I was like, you know what? I want to do that for my team. And they did this do not disturb day. And they would do it with varying schedules. Sometimes they would do it once a week. Sometimes, if they were super busy, they would do it twice a week. Sometimes it would just be like once or twice a month, depending on what they needed. And what I would do is I had a desk out on the main floor of the company. It was an open office floor plan, but we also had a marketing office where we had meetings and stuff like that. And so I had a sign on the back of the door that they could move around to the front if they were in there. And we just had a schedule on our calendar. And I knew that Tuesdays was Kate's day, and Thursdays was Demetria's day. And then if I needed one, I would go like on a Monday or Wednesday, whatever it was. But we would have a do not disturb day. Do not disturb unless absolutely necessary. And that's what it said on the sign. And they would go in there in the office and they would pull up all the stuff from their computer and they would just work. They would work all day. I would not go in to ask them a question unless absolutely necessary. And if necessary, I would just send them a message if I could just handle it that way. And if they had something, they would occasionally come out. But for the most part, they would be in there, door closed all day long. And if somebody needed them, they would send them an email or they would send them a message. Anybody else in the company just knew that, okay, I'm not going to bother them today. They're not going to answer the phone because there was no phone in that office. It was only at their desk. So they had their do not disturb day. And I think that's awesome. Because when we started it, my team would just gush. They would be like, I got so much work done today. I wasn't answering emails all day. I didn't have people coming by my desk, because a lot of office cultures are very chatty. You've got the people who come around and want to chit chat while they're drinking something.
Especially now with the popularity of open office floor plans, because that's how it was. Same kind of situation is when I had my office. If I needed to focus, I just got up and closed the door.
Yeah.
And people know typically if the door's closed, you don't go in. If you knock and there's no response, you still don't go in, right? And so oftentimes that was my go-to is just close the door. Now when the floor plan is open, I mean all bets are off. Like you can't do that. And that was one of the things.
Fashion a door of cardboard for the side of your cubicle.
Yeah. Now I was closer with the team I worked with because we were all sitting around each other and we didn't have we had I guess we're kind of like cubicles. We're more like long tables. And so you sat and then you had a person there, a person on that side, and a person on this side. And so we would all kind of talk and we could check in with where we're at with projects and all that sort of stuff. And it was great. But I think the open, we can talk about that another time. Open office floor plans, are they that
plus
that
or
great?
minus? Yeah. Well, also when I did my do not disturb days, I turned the light off. I would go in the office. I would turn the light off. Sometimes this was just like a psychological thing. I would leave the door open. I would leave the door open with the light off, and I would work from my laptop with the back of it facing the door, and I had the brightness turned down. So if anybody just walked by, they would just assume that I wasn't there because they didn't see me. So they didn't see me sitting in there. And so I would put my headphones on. I would load up all my stuff on my computer, and I would get so much work done. And then every once in a while, somebody would be like, "Oh, you are here. You're in there with the lights off." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting work done. What do you need?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, I just wanted to come say hey." And I'm like, "Okay,
cool. Bugging me.
Come say hey tomorrow." And that's what I did there. And then I had a job previous to that where I was running when I was running a larger team, and it was getting to the point, and I think a lot of people who run big teams or they have companies that have lots of meetings, it was getting to the point where I was meeting so much and spending on my day managing, I had no time to actually functionally do stuff. Right. Yep. So I would spend my whole time. I was like, okay, we got to make schedule for the interns and we got to do this. And I've got these 3 meetings this afternoon, but I'm also expected to do all these other things. I need to make sure I check in on these ad campaigns that we're running. The websites need to be updated. We've got these videos that the scripts need to be double checked. And there's just a lot of work. So I really wasn't a conversation. I just told my boss, I was like, hey, I'm changing my schedule. I'm going to be coming in at 6:30. I'm going to be leaving early every day. I left at like 2:30 or 3:30. And I got so much work done. Now that's not necessarily for everybody. So before I had kids, so I could just get up, leave. My wife was, still asleep, and I'd be at work, long before the rush. I had a shorter ride in the car, and I remember I would be working and the cleaning crew would be coming through. And they were like always surprised, like, "Oh, you're here." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just getting work done." I got so much work done between 6:30 and 9:00 when the rest of like my team and staff came in, like 6:30 to 7:30 to 8:30 to 9, that 2.5 hour window right there, I got an entire day's worth of work done because I had 0 distractions. I had no emails coming in because nobody was on site to send emails that early. And then at 9 o'clock, I would do my staff meetings, and then I would check in on stuff, and then I would start my day, and then I would go through meetings through the mid afternoon, and then I'd be gone. So I think that is a totally plausible situation if it's possible that you could have a conversation or just be like, hey, I need to shift my schedule. It's not working out. I got way too much on me, and I just need to be in here free of distractions. And if you can have that conversation and make it work with what you're doing, awesome, because that worked for me so well.
Yeah, and I actually apply that now, even with us working full time, is getting up for the family with the kids, and I'll spend probably an hour or two where it's just completely quiet. I don't have any emails coming in. Don't have phone ringing. I don't have meetings planned at that time. So I know that my most focused time I can do in that hour of like, okay, what are some things that I can do where I don't have any distractions at the moment? What can I do? Right. And that works wonders. Well, so I agree with that.
Yeah, I think the big response to your friend who was like, hey, I'm overwhelmed with work. I'm getting loaded with projects. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know how to like react and respond to be able to manage this. I think the biggest thing is, where can I look within the company to help me out? Like, how can I set processes within, with how I'm interacting with people? Like, do I get a whiteboard? Do I give people, like, I think you mentioned maybe on our live the other day, get a Calendly set up and have people book time on your calendar, even internally. I think that would work. And then also, I think you need to look within yourself, like, okay, so what can I change with how I'm working personally to fix this situation? Do I need to not be reactive to things? Do I need to just make sure that people are following the guidelines that I'm setting up? Do I need to change my schedule so that I'm better suited to work when I can? If you can do that, I think it's a 2-part thing. Like, what can other people change with how they interact with me, and then how can I change what I'm doing?
Yeah, I agree with that. If you any way you can manipulate your schedule, and make sure you're focused on the times that you work best is always good. If you're listening to this and you want to add what works for you, or a couple of other tips that we didn't mention that you want to suggest, follow us at Hustle Machine Podcast on Instagram. Check us out on our Facebook page. Just find us on our social media and add some comments there. What what's worked for you. So we would love to pass that along. Who knows, we may be able to pick some of those up as another episode and dive into that a little bit further. So
for sure.
And until next time, we can keep this conversation going. We'll see you.
Adios. One second. Clink. Do you have a clink? Do you have a clinky clink?
I have my hydro flask.
Okay. Dink.
I am.
See you guys.